You know what pisses me off more than most things is my inability to talk about media. I always seem to be able to talk about my experience with media or just my gripes with people who don't seem to understand how I experience media in general, and a lot of my videos come from the point of trying to justify myself in a broad sense. They don't usually try to justify myself on specific shows. Even the ones that do, like my Pong videos or my Masochist video, those videos take a very broad look at those specific subjects. I mean, I think the Pong videos are the most specific that I've looked at, like, a game's mechanics and how a game works, and I'm still particularly proud of those videos because those videos, like, actually analyze the game itself while also making broader points about how I experience media. It kind of combines the two, and those videos came from the perspective of trying to be understood and to justify why I would have these opinions and why I would be this way. Because, let's face it, the way people look at you is largely dependent on their understanding of you, and they will treat you in a different way because they misunderstand you. It has material effects on reality to be misunderstood, and so if you can be understood, you can be treated differently. And I believe when you see it in this way, and you see the correlation between understanding and how people treat you, it makes a lot more sense as to why people have these burning desires. Now, I don't really care as much as I used to about being understood, just because I used to have this, like, social need to be justified as an entity, and so it led me to wanting to explain things in more depth, and it led me to wanting to word things in a way that made sense to the broadest amount of people. And I never really achieved that last one, but I certainly was able to explain myself. And so I think with my videos, they've always come from this angle of trying to reach understanding, and that understanding doesn't necessarily come in individual shows, because I've never really had that many, like, hot takes on individual things. A lot of my opinions on individual things either aren't really that thought out, or just tend to be pretty milquetoast. Like, I don't have that many things to say about most anime or most media stuff that I watch. Like, most of the time I end up just wanting to say the same things. Like, it's never about specific media elements. I don't talk about the plot. I don't have opinions on the plot. I don't have opinions on the characters. What I do have opinions on is anime as a medium, or video games as a medium, why I consume those specific things. Why do I consume anime? The passivity of it. And so I make videos like The Prince of Tennis and Passive Viewing. I make videos like Golden Kamui and Fuck Manga. Why do I consume video games? Because they're difficult, they occupy my attention. So, I make videos like the one where I talk about hard games, hard games and anxiety or something like that. I can't remember the name of that video. Or hard games are a relaxing distraction, that's the one. I make videos like the Pong video to a certain extent, where I sort of talk about catharsis and how it's distracting. I make, generally videos like those ones, where I'm trying to talk about how I experience media rather than talking about the media itself. And so I've never been good at actually just talking about a thing, at actually just analyzing the specific elements of it. I've always been far, far better at only talking about myself and only talking about the broad strokes of myself. And I believe this is a problem for the longevity of my YouTube channel. I believe that this causes an issue with how I'm going to be able to continue as a YouTuber, because there's only so many broad points that I can make. There's only so many things that I can possibly say about how I experience media until I've dried up, until I'm done. And so the only place to go from there is to, one, learn how to talk about media in depth, which requires watching a shitload of Mr. B-Tongue and YMS and all these other people every single day, over and over, until I build a repertoire of how to think. And then 2, diversifying my content away from simply doing written stuff all the time, which I believe I've done a fair job of throughout 2018. I've started to release much more unscripted content on the main channel and generally just care less about the main channel as a place of prestige, because it's not. Like, I enjoy my vlogs, I enjoy their existence as content, and so why do I not put that front and center? I don't think most people who are subscribed for certain things care if I have that different type of content on the main channel. I don't think people care enough to have me constantly dividing between where content is or isn't going to go. And so, seeing things in this way, realizing this, has made me put a lot more vlogs on the main channel, and wanting to do a lot more vlogs on the main channel, because I've had ideas for them. I've had stuff that I want to do, I just haven't had the environment where I could record, for one, and a lot of it has been stuff that I wanted to record on camera. And so, if I'm not able to stand there in front of a camera and do weird stuff and do weird poses and do weird camera angles, then, well, what is the point of the video? Because part of it is to have that thematic element of how it's filmed. Part of it is to have that thematic element of how it's edited. And I can't do that without having a door or without having, the proper equipment, which I have the equipment necessary now. It's just an issue of having a door or having a place to film in the first place, which I don't have. And so I've had to limit my ideas, I've had to limit my creativity within the box of my editor and Audacity, which, to be fair, you can do a lot in. It's just that I don't want to do what I can do with those things. It's the creativity and the ideas and the inspiration I have at the current moment are for videos that require a camera. And so, when I look at all this endless creativity that is possible within the Sony Vegas timeline without filming anything yourself, all I can do is sit there and think, wow, I wish I were doing something else, because my inspiration is going towards the camera. It is not going towards, a linear timeline where I add effects and add images and stuff. Sure, I could do that, and I can do a lot with it. I can make some fucking Christmas Day shit, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that right now. That's not the type of creativity that I want to work on. I want to show my face. I want to do weird stuff with that. I want to have that be a variable. And right now that's just not possible. And so I've been sort of trying to figure out how I can do that and how I can continue the vlogs and put out a lot more vlogs. And I believe that's where I'm probably going to go as a creator. I'm going to continue the written videos where needed, and I'm going to try to take a more critical edge to make better writing and to make different writing than what I've been doing, and to really practice at just talking about media. And so I want to hit that edge very much so, but also diversify my content into more of a lifestyle thing, into more of a personal thing where I just simply talk about who I am as a person and the ideas that I have and the ways that I'm thinking about things, what I'm thinking, what I'm experiencing in my life, what's going on, and showing that, and showing you that, and showing you those emotions directly. And so that's certainly where I want to go. And one of the reasons why I've taken this edge, or want to take this edge rather, is because of people like Zabujard and Hiding in My Room, two of my favorite YouTubers. Zabujard is a NEET who just records like 3 videos in a day and will release them, and his content is very raw and talks a lot about his life. And then Hiding in My Room just records stuff, with a camera of his life in Japan, and he talks about these very raw things. Like, in one video, for example, he walked out on his wife and is literally, like, outside and had to sleep in a hotel, and he had, like, slammed something against the floor and pushed his wife down onto a bed. Like, they had an argument. They got really mad at each other. And he was just live streaming at the time, right after this happened, pissed. He was angry, and he was calling her all these terrible things, and he had to spend a lot of his own money to stay in a hotel for the night because he wasn't going to be able to live with his wife. And so stuff like that makes Hiding My Room very interesting, because when you see the events of someone's life like that, you're directly tasked with who they are as a person. You start to think about who they are as a person, because how they act says a lot about who they are. And so Hiding in My Room specifically, he is such a weird and strange person that when you think about how the only thing he cares about is sex, and when you think about how he spends most of his time alone on the internet and making videos, and then you see, you know, the actions that he takes, you see his interactions with his wife and with people, and how he portrays that in a video, which is insanely honest and direct, by literally, like, having him be on the night that he had that argument, walking around in a park getting pissed, like, that is very, very direct and honest, and it shows who he is as a person in an extremely intimate level. And so, stuff like that just deeply fascinates me. It deeply fascinates me as someone who is interested by people and how people work, and I believe the internet is a great medium to express ideas like that, because as I said in my Skelebro video, YouTube is parasocial. It's something that you simulate friends without actually having them. That's how you do YouTube. That's how you experience YouTube. You aren't friends with these creators, and yet you have a relationship with them regardless, and yet you're able to sit there and feel as if you know them simply because they put so much of themselves on the internet, and they put so much of their emotions out in the open. People like Hiding in My Room and Zabujar do that, and I find that fascinating. I find that fascinating that this can exist on the internet, and that this does exist on the internet. And I love seeing these individual parts of people. I love seeing how these factors in one's life can affect you, and how they can continue to go on throughout your life, and just seeing that development as it happens, and seeing as much context and as much specificity when it comes to people as possible. These people are unique and weird, and they have specificity within their content, and that's what makes them special, and I love that rawness. And so I want to try to express that in my content, because I also believe that I am a very weird person who has things to say, who has a life to live. My plans for life are kind of odd, and so what I want to do is take that angle of, I'm gonna vlog every day, I'm gonna show my whole life, I'm gonna show all of these things that are going on, and I'm gonna take that personal edge to things. And so that's sort of where I want to go forward from here, when the content that I have written-wise is sort of drying up, where I don't have that many things to say anymore, in broad strokes at least, about media. I might get an idea here and there about these you know, more broad topics about media, but I doubt it. Like, unless the way that I consume media changes in some way, or if there's just something that I forgot that I want to talk about, I doubt that I'm gonna be able to find something that I want to explain that I haven't explained already. And so we're at a period where we need to move on, to where we need to change what we're doing, or die out because we didn't adapt to who we are currently.